So my name is Franck Pegand. I'm an IT consultant for Alenia, and I'm very proud today to animate this roundtable regarding the observability. For this one, we'll be helped by Pierre to help me during the Q&A session, and by Nus. I'm very happy to have her in live for this session. But regarding our subject today, I'm very happy to have around the table Alejandro from Santander, Alejandro Romero, who is in charge of the observability team. Michael Wozniak, who works for Dynatrace, and Henri Gomez. He was in charge of SRE and observability for Doctolib, and he is now cloud consultant for Beware. Last year, we have defined what means observability, and we had a demonstration of a tool named Lightstep. This tool is based on the Prometheus, so an open source solution. Today, the objective is not to come back on this definition and to talk about tooling. We would like to talk about organization, impact of the observability on your organization, and how you could scale these practices. To start, the first question, we mentioned, we have filmed the fact that observability is not only a technical fact, but it's an organizational stuff too. So Alejandro, how do you? It's okay. Yeah. How do you implement observability? What is your objective, and what is the impact of the observability on your organization?
Okay, that's really a very complex question because. The own purpose of observability implies a lot of things, no? Because all of you, most of you certainly will have engineering background, and you remember Heisenberg, and he has a principle, no, that says that it is impossible, the uncertainty principle, no? That is impossible to know at the same time those specific aspects of a given thing, no? And observability tried to refute Heisenberg. So monitoring has been spread out all Santander throughout the years. And we have teams with very good knowledge, and certainly all the applications are monitored. Mohamed El-Kadiri was saying before that we have up to 18 different monitoring tools. Monitoring all of our premises. Actually, the cipher is 20, and this cannot be. It cannot be because this is a lot of information destined to technicians. That is monitoring. So for us, observability is a very simple definition. That is providing all this information with context. We, in production, as I was commenting with my colleagues before, we need to take conscious that we are not driving this train anymore. IT is not driving this train anymore. It's business. So production needs to move from a really valuable asset that supports and keeps the lights on and things like that to a business enabler. And which is the way in which production can reach this ambition. And it's through the implementation of observability. So the way in which we are saying this, we are achieving this, is based in three basic principles. The first one is community. We are creating a strong community with practices, knowledge about tooling, support, everything surrounding the observability. We have based, because observability cannot scale without someone within the production team building this gorgeous dashboards that you can build with a Dynatrace, or providing business with this information about volumes or about transactions, about buys and sells and things that are really valuable to them with an observability team, because that simply does not scale. So what we decided is to rely on another figure that we will talk later on to leverage and to boost the observability. That is the best principle. The second principle is tooling. Precisely 20 tools, they cannot be. It simply cannot be. Because if we want to dictate to the monitoring of context, how are we going to do that with 20 tools? So we are now, what we did the first is a complete assessment of all the tooling. Then we detected when they overlap. And whenever they overlap, the tool that meets Pareto, that is covering at least 80% of the functionality, is the winner. The other one is leaving. And I don't care if you need it so much that you are jeopardizing the company. This is a very expensive license. What is more, you are avoiding us to spread the knowledge because you are creating a very complex knowledge map. On the other hand, we have the possibility of integrate these tools. For instance, Netcool. Netcool is a brilliant network monitoring tool, but we can use FluentD to take those traps and ingest them in Dynatrace. So we will bring context to our information. And the third pillar is data-driven. All this data we have around, we need to locate it, transform it with FluentD, with Logstash, with whatever, and then ingest it and correlate it by the use of artificial intelligence. It's the ABC AI, it's an in-house developed artificial intelligence running in a data lake, whatever. And then, with these three pillars, we can come to the business team and say, which is your business all about? And then build these dashboards that are not only going to warn the technical teams, or even if it is possible to trigger an action and auto-heal, but also is going to warn business of what is going on. Because if you have a customer in Uruguay that is sending you 10 buying propositions every day, and one day he does not send anything, there is no alarm. Nothing is going to happen. But the system with the observability will warn business and say, hey, your customer didn't buy anything today. This is normal. It's not an alarm, but it's weird. Okay? So this is the way we are working on this.
Thanks. Henri, based on your previous experience and your today's client?
I would say Alejandro covered about everything. Observability is for everyone, and everyone is producer of observability metrics, any kind of information, metrics, span, logs. Everyone is producing observability, and everyone has appetite to use this observability. So it's not dedicated to, in the past, it used to be limited to the IT teams. And now it's, let's say, up to the coder or to the C-level who have appetite on observability metric. Not the same. They have, let's say, C-level observability metrics to monitor, but it's covered everywhere. And everyone is consuming and producing observability. So when you deploy observability in a company, it will be for everyone, and everyone will be a producer and a consumer, and everyone has his part of the richness of the observability content inside the company.
And if we try to do a focus on the different users of the observability, if we could start at C-level, what they are, the kind of use case they need, and how we can discuss with them. After this, maybe we could discuss with the CIO, the CTO, and so on. We have an interaction with the operational team, the operational manager, with the users of the information system. If we try to do a focus on the different area, what are the use case and what could be the message for them?
I would say the most obvious for let's say for a CEO is to jump inside let's say a room and say, my production is working. Is it working now? Because I had a call or two call or three call and something is wrong. It is not interested in the low level detail, but he wants to know it's green or red. And this is basically the information he wants. If you go, let's say, a step down, let's say a CTO, he would be interested in, okay, my production is green or red, already covered by the CEO request. My response time, for example, is my infrastructure is efficient? Did I have a good run trips that make my users happy and willing to come again and again to use my service? So this is basically the other C-level who are looking for. Let's say I'm a chief product officer. What are the products the most used inside my application? The banking, the clearing, the settlement, for example, or the retail. Why? Because depending on the strategy of the company, I said, okay, this part is not enough use. Why? We should see why there is less use of this part of the business instead of the other. Maybe because the company wants a big push on a part of the business. So everyone at his level have very different information, and part of this information is often, let's say, collected with big data mining. But big data mining is more, you collect a lot of information to try to find things later on. When in observability, by design, this is very important, by design, you start collecting, pushing data you want to collect and analyze later on, where data mining is you collect every data available and then you bring a ton of data scientists who try to correlate. This is while everyone is involved and everyone should push his own teams to provide such metric to say, okay, by the end of the day, I am green, I am red. What part of my application are covered and so on. And everyone has this part of the responsibility because everyone should know by the end of the way, did I do my work as best as possible? Even the CEO.
Do you want to complete?
Sure thing. And I totally agree with him because there is a very strong difference between the data lake approach and the data bucket that you are going to treat with for the observability. Because in the data lake, as he says, information is allocated. In observability, you need to transform it in a way that you later on are able to correlate. Otherwise, it's unuseful information. Either you have the timestamp, the tag of a machine in which the thing is happening, the tag of a transaction, so you can relate it to the rest of the infrastructure. The ABCI or other artificial intelligence, they are not magical. They need this kind of tags to provide you with the value. That's why it's really, really important to transform the information before ingesting it. Of course, not the one coming from the one agent, because that is already prepared for that. Transforming will be complementary to what was saying.
Now, regarding the way to work and to implement the observability, do you think we need some new expertise? We need to build some new teams? And what is the role, if it's the case, what is the role of this kind of profile or this kind of team? Alejandro?
Well, yes, certainly. No, we need to create a very strong observability team that keeps the knowledge about the tooling, that can provide support on how to do things. You need to base on alliances, like the one, for example, we have with the Velocity program with Dynatrace, or others with Grafana, or with whatever the other tools we can be using. But there is to be a strong knowledge on observability. But if you want to escalate, you need to have an observability champion for the product team. Someone so attached to the product as the product owner, but with technical background. Someone that knows the application, knows the business, and knows what is really important for business. Because what is really important for the machines, the technical guys, they already know that. And they've been monitoring that for years. So this guy, they need to know every bit and piece of a process, of a volumes, of everything. And from my point of view, that function should rely on the SRE. Because it's the one that should look forward for the reliability of a site, and it's the one who should look forward for the performance. Because this is not only performance what we're talking about. For me, the performance or the theoretical performance of the application could be bad. It could be bad. But if the user satisfaction, the user experience is good, you are all good. You will have time to solve and make it faster. But you need to focus on the user experience.
We talk about coaching and sorry.
Yeah, we add something. The term of champion is really important within observability because he has a knowledge of its domain. Observability, as you saw, is a part that can be used by any team in your IT, from business to developers, DBAs, etc. So you have to have a champion in every team to make a relay connection between the team and observability team. This is really, really important.
Yeah, because otherwise it won't scale. Imagine a central observability team receiving thousands of requests of product teams. How do I make this dashboard richer? It will be impossible.
Henri?
I will do a transition with the next topic, but in my experience, and I managed a team of SRE who turned to observability team. 5 people in a company where there were 500 developers and 3,000 people inside the company. 5 people cannot know all the observability topics of everything in the company, especially when you are in a fast-moving company where a product today could disappear, a new one is changing, you change your partner, everything changes every time. So it's very complicated. So how did we do that? I sent part of my team inside product team to do the observability coaching. Starting from one point, what are your main SLA? From then, we draft the SLO objective, and from them, we started to speak about the indicator, the SLI, to grab the SLO to match the SLA. This was the first part, say, okay, you have the, let's say, the why, we will teach you how to do the O. This is only one part of this coaching. The second part is to make this in mind of the product team, developer, and so on. You start as soon as you have a SLA, you should take care of it. Whatever you will do with your application in the future. If something changes, the rule change, update your SLO, SLI. But very similar to what you do with software development. You should take care of the quality of your code from day one up to when you get the application out of the production and put it on the trash bin. It's not a single effort. It's for everything. And one part of the champion is to go every time and say, we change something in the relation with such partner. We had a new partner. Does he have an impact in your SLI, SLO? How should we change? And this is why it's very important to have someone who cares of observability. It's not something you do on Monday, say, okay, it's over for the rest of the year or the rest of the decade. You start on Monday, maybe you will update it on Thursday and have a major rewrite next week. But when you bring observability, it's entered inside the definition of done. You change something, you should update observability, rules, monitoring, so on, accordingly.
Excellent. We are talking mainly about the RHEL, so we assume that observability is in production, but when we want to optimize our tooling and our way to proceed, we could have to manage some project to integrate some solutions and Dynatrace. And the impact of this kind of project could be very important. On your side, Michael, what is the expectation when you start this kind of project to be sure that at the end your tool will be used at the right level with the right maturity? What are the best prerequisites?
So first of all, an observability project has to be led by the top management. To have the most visibility as possible, it doesn't have to start from the specific team, because other team will not have visibility on this project. So it has to be led by top management. And also because, as you saw, every team can be involved in observability management. So when we start to deploy, to implement an observability project, first we define who will be the observability team, in fact. And the size of the team depends on the tooling you use, depend on the project itself. Tooling you use, do you include automation in the tooling? Does tooling, I'm not talking only about Dynatrace, how many tools you use for observability? So this is really an impact on the size of the teams that will handle observability. Then on each individual team, we talk about business, we talk about developers, we talk about operational teams. You have to have a champion that has the knowledge about Dynatrace that will create the link between the needs of the team and the observability team. So this is really important to ensure that the project will have a success, in fact. And then you start to engage some leverage of the skills of the team, because an observability project comes with change of mindings. For example, if we talk about support level that will support your application, you will have to accompany this team around this changing in mind of usage of this observability habits. And one last point is what in fact you said, having a reference about how much help you can provide to all this team, central knowledge of the tooling. Again, I'm not talking only about Dynatrace. Dynatrace will make it easier for you to deploy observability project, and that's all. And then final point is that you will have to measure the maturity of your teams within observability, because you can't be all your team can be champions around observability from the beginning. So observability project will evolve during time in terms of maturity of the teams, usage of the solutions that deliver observability. So you have to measure constantly what is the maturity of your teams. in fact. We are doing this at Dynatrace, so is a dedicated team which is called CSMs, Customer Success Managers, which measure the level of maturity of our customer or our prospects in terms of observability. From the beginning, let's say a reactive mode, where you just hear about a problem on your production, for example, and you react on this problem, up to a pervasive point where you automate everything around observability. Detection, action in terms of isolating the root cause of, it's called a problem in ITIL, and then remediation. You can also automate remediation around observability. So that's a high level of maturity you could have around our customers, in fact.
Thanks a lot. Before to discuss about practices and maturity, it's a good introduction on your side. We would like to do a focus or to understand if there is a difference between SRE team and observability team. Is it two different things? Is there an interaction between these two practices? What is your feeling, Alejandro?
Well, I think these are two different teams. The thing is that they cannot live one without the other. As to my eye, the SREs, they are the observability champions, because they live from information. So the information is going to be provided to them by the observability team, and the other way around. The observability teams live from getting information. The ones that are going to build the automations, the ones that are going to connect to the APIs of the other products and provide this information available for the observability team are going to be SREs. But the SRE main function is to look after his application. But there is certainly this integration between the two departments. Let's say they are complementary, and the SREs, they are the ambassadors of the observability.
I would say SRE is everything about efficiency, reliability, and so on. That's why they have a natural appetite for metrics. They gather everything as possible, including the round trip between Brasilia and Malaga, maybe, because every single information could provide an explanation to a suspicion, not an incident, suspicion of malfunction. So they gather a lot of data. So they are, let's say, the first consumer of observability. And depending on the size of your company, if you're a large company, you could have SRE consuming observability. They consume, they also produce. And you could have, let's say, dedicated observability team. Usually, what we say is, it starts, you have a SRE team. There is no observability at all. As SRE has appetite to get observability, they set up the observability solution, whatever the tool they will use. They set up the solution. They start to use it to find champions inside the team. And at some time, when there was, let's say, a critical mass, you could have some people of the SRE team who do a spin-off to a dedicated observability team. This is what I did in my previous company, because doing the training the champion, animating the champion and the community is a time-consuming business. You cannot say, okay, I train 10 people the last month, it's okay. On the 10 people, maybe 2 left, and two new jumps. So it's a community. You have to make alive and strong the community. So the observability team, the time you do to make this live and healthy is very time consuming. And if you keep those people in charge of, let's say, make this alive and healthy, in charge of SRE, they will take their natural appetite to fix the things. Yeah. So if you want observability, you could start SRE guys set up observability, but at some time you should say, okay, guys, move to this dedicated business because you have the tool to know, but more important to have the whole community. And we say this is across the organization to make to do the training, the coaching, and so on.
To avoid that bottleneck, and because within the DNA of SRE is a chapter, because remember the SREs, they typically, unless they are like a SRE squad, that they are fly in, fly out, they solve one given application and then they fly out, that I don't like this kind of approach. Typically, they are spread around the organization. So the only contact with the other SREs is the community they have, the chapter. So what we do is teach the chapter, form the chapter in observability. So they include in the onboarding process of an SRE mandatorily knowing Dynatrace, getting the latest news of Dynatrace. So what the observability team does is assisting to these chapter meetings and brief with the new things to the SREs. And all of this is documented in the onboarding process of the SRE. So they are kept up to date continuously. Because they are spreading their business, as he said. They are deployed in business. They don't care of any other thing but business.
Michael, on your side, are you working with the two different teams?
Of course.
The approach is the same one, or there are some differences?
Exactly. The SRE is really dependent on observability because on each one of his roles, he needs observability. Monitoring application and alerting the right stakeholders when there is an issue. He needs data from observability. Doing shift left with dev teams, for example, SRE has a real impact on automation. So automating test of your new builds, application builds, so that you don't waste time and you don't integrate human errors because of no automation. He needs observability to do this. Providing data regarding SLOs. SLOs are based on KPIs that are collected by observability. So to resume, and there are so many other roles of the SRE that belongs are correlated with observability. So this is the most important thing. Let's say an SRE is nothing without observability because it's the base of what he's working on.
Yeah, it will be an automator.
Yeah.
You talk about maturity and practices just before, Michael. On your side, Alejandro, how do you measure this maturity and what is the different lever or enabler you could have to improve this maturity on your team?
Which maturity? Maturity of SRE team?
Observability.
Of observability.
Yeah.
Well, this is a very tough question, and it will evolve with the pass of the time. Nowadays, what we are measuring is we are crossing the CNDB with the Dynatrace, with the Dynatrace database, so we detect anomalies. Because it could be the case that Dynatrace has detected something that the CNDB hasn't. So we cross information. Then we look at those systems and we make sure if they are monitored. If they are monitored, they need to have alarms. If they have alarms, they need to be associated actions to this alarm. Because a metric that do not provide you, that do not force you to take a decision, is a vanity metric. You should not have it there. Why do you have an alarm that set for nothing? So they need to have an automatic response. Either call PagerDuty, write a problem in ServiceNow, open Teams channels and involve other technicians, discard the alarm because it's not really an alarm. Only if it repeats it 3 times, then it will be an alarm. But that way, we call it digitalization ratio. And it indicates the level of observability. But it will evolve to see how much we can leverage business. Because at the end of the day, what matters is that we provide the best products, we are faster, and we are cheaper. And we are only going to achieve that, but being very fast in solving problems and providing our business with the best of information.
Maturity, we used as an observability team to bring observability metrics to measure our own KPI. And one of the KPI we had to observe our maturity was to check, we do a serious hunt to the false positive. You know, the alert who wake up at 2 in the morning about something unrelated to production or not necessarily serious. So one of the we try to get the, let's say, the false positive nearly eradicated. So we had campaign to say, okay, we are doing we done housekeeping of all the monitoring and all the monitoring rules to review with the stakeholders. Say, okay, this rule twice in a month it ring without reason. We should see with you. Maybe something changed, and that's why we came to the meeting with the observability champion, because when we go out of the meeting, the maturity champion is in charge to say, okay, next time we change something on, let's say, business perspective, we should update. So it was to undo all the false positive because it's a nightmare, and it generates for SRE, what is named alarm fatigue. You are wake up uselessly, and it's not good. Another thing we had to measure is to measure how many monitoring were crafted by product team and how many monitoring rules were designed and deployed by SRE teams. When you are moving, let's say, the monitoring logic outside the SRE but on the product team, it means they get the point. They know it's important for them, and they are de facto responsible of the lifetime of this monitoring. So it was a very simple KPI. This monitoring has been designed by an SRE or by a service team. And when you are, let's say, 99% of the monitoring rules are done by product, and the rest are, let's say, by the system team, basically, you are on a very good trend.
Michael, you start to explain the way to measure the maturity on Dynatrace side or on a project led by Dynatrace. Do you want to complete your vision?
In fact, to resume, we have two ways of measuring maturity around observability. First one is the way you create value with observability. Business doesn't take care of the fact that your application slow down because of a server issue. Business is more interesting, or how many customers I lost because of this problem. So this is about value you provide within observability. A second thing is how our customers are putting the cursor between simply being aware of observability, so many manual implementation, manual actions regarding observability, up to a level which is the best one, where everything is automated. We talk about delivering email to the correct person as fast as possible, but we could also automate this by remediation with Dynatrace, of course, to be able to automate from the detection of an anomaly to the isolation of the root cause up to the resolution of the problem without any human intervention. So that's where we are putting the cursor within the maturity of our customer.
And to finish, before to manage the Q&A part, we will have more and more data. You will have more and more stuff to manage thanks to the observability. How do you scale, and how do you manage the scaling of the observability?
Necessarily, you will need to move to better data lakes. Dynatrace is doing that, coming out from Elastic and building their own data management system. But certainly, that will be to be a kind of transformation in the same way that is being done in other areas within IT, in which we will have hot nodes with the most recent information, warm nodes with information from a month ago, cold nodes with information of a year ago, and then we will store everything in the glacier and the glacier and things like that. We will. This is that data life cycle will be applied to that, and it's unavoidable.
If you want to scale something, you should make it available to everyone. So it should scale at the company level. So obviously, we won't ask to the CEO to craft monitoring, unless he has appetite to. But doing guide, champions, chapters, everything to spread the knowledge, the usage, the values. What did this team win, and to have some kind of retro? This team deployed observability 2 quarters ago. What is their finding? Because end user speaking about their finding about observability is 100 more efficient than an SRE or an observability specialist speaking about the value. So someone like you say, this is what I discovered, this is how I have better perspective on my business, and I said, this server was down, okay, and we lost it. In my previous company, the developer were tracking down the response time of their API endpoint and took that in consideration to feed their next sprint to say, this endpoint slowed down over the time, we should correct it. And also, they monitor the part of the, let's say, the part of the application. So they bring a lot of feature in the application, say, okay, this one, use this. No use. So, and this is direct value observability. Okay, I'm more efficient, and this way more green. I spend the effort on the right track, and they get somewhat, some way, as a kind of SRE of their very own business, in charge of this. So, and to do that, you should train them to keep this strong, give them the advice from, let's say, from a very low tool perspective up to a very high practice, and do a lot of animation about this. And this is how to scale. By the way, you know that you scale. You scale to the top level when this observability team is not needed anymore. So you succeed your job when you are nearly to move to another company, because observability is like eating and drinking. It's vital for you.
The first one is a joke, it seems. Maybe could be interesting to have a discussion with Mustafa. Mustafa?
It was just to say that coming back to what Mohamed was saying this morning, it was a good way to show that it's also a matter of skill set and not only a matter of technology. That's why I was saying Dr. Watson is very good at monitoring and looking at, whereas Mr. Holmes is much better at analyzing and doing observability. That was a joke, but ultimately it's true.
That's a nice joke, because Sherlock Holmes will analyze deeply what is wrong on your systems. If it can be automated, then it's a better way. And Dr. Watson will help communicate with the teams on what has been discovered, in fact. So both are really important in terms of deep analysis and in terms of communication with the teams.
How do you improve this culture?
Unfortunately, teaching by example and learning the hard way. We typically, as Mohamed said this morning, we typically land in there when there is a huge problem. And so far we are happy, and we succeed in providing the hints that leads the team to solve a problem. So from that standpoint, they say, oh no, we need these guys in here because they are really applicating value. And regarding the previous question, I think it's one of the best analogies I've seen about observability and monitoring.
Maybe to switch on another context, there are some questions about AI and LLM. Do you think that these kind of tools are interesting and we are already able to use it for the observability?
Which question is?
It's not on the screen, sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, so does AI already play a role in the scaling and combine through the enormous quantity of data? And do you integrate LLM for observability? Any limitation?
Tooling, obviously, the more you will use tools for observability, the more complex will be observability, because you need to have a common language between teams, between tools also, to be able to speak about observability. If you have your database teams that use your its own tool and that does not communicate with other tools, this is a real problem to have a global overview of observability. So the ideal is to have a tool or a set of tools that have a common language that speaks to every team around observability. And on top of these tools, ideally, an AI should be an important thing. First of all, to be able to automate things around observability. Observability now brings you a lot of data, a lot of metrics. You can't anymore provide thresholds manually on every kind of these metrics. So you should use AI to automate these things, to learn about how your application, how your business is behaving, how your infrastructure are behaving, and automatize the alerting when it sees a deviation around these metrics. And much more deeper, the AI should also discover the issue and also the root cause of this issue. Because based on all these metrics, the AI needs to understand what is the root cause of this problem. So to save you time detecting the issue and to save you time detecting the root cause of this issue. So let's say the AI is now mandatory to observability to help you save time and save business also to increase the time spent, decrease the time spent on problems on your infrastructure and on your IT, let's say.
How do you manage the training of your specialists and champions, internal knowledge or external training? How do you manage to develop an expertise and new practices?
I will say there is two stages to the rocket. The first one, you should train. So when you know that you want observability and you know what you achieve, obviously you have to choose a tool. Whatever tool it will be, could be Dynatrace or many other. You see, I say Dynatrace. So you should gather the information from the experts. So part of your team move to get information from the expert. Then they bring this knowledge back home and they try to share this knowledge to the rest of the company or at least to the champion. Why? Because this is where you confront the theory of a software vendor and the reality of your business and your company. So if you don't have all the answer from because you are less rookies than the rookie asking you about the tool or about solution, but this is where you, as you should answer to rookies, you will very quickly see if you learn enough from the expert. So step one, do that. Then spray, and I use a model used in previous life. The latest doing something, learning something, in this case observability, is the one who trains the rookie. And if he don't know, he goes to the one who trained it. And this is a kind of silo and retroactive feedback, because maybe someone totally new in the company will ask you a question that will traverse the champions, the senior champions, the champions, and the junior champions, and everyone in the company. So first, take the skill from expert for a tool, for example, then become yourself the expert of the tools based on your setup, each company is different. You could use the same tool in 10 companies. There is high chance that there will be a different use. Some will be more on metrics, other on span, other on logs. So there will be as many use as possible, but expert from usually from the software vendor, and then train yourself and train and keep this community and keep this training strong inside the company. Why? Because as in every company, people came in, people came out. So you should be able to train at home the newcomers.
Yeah. Sorry.
Thanks. I don't know if I need that. I've got a loud voice anyway. How do you, like, I'm very like immature when it comes to SRE in my knowledge and stuff, but how would you optimize in the process once it's set up? Because applications are changing so much. I don't want to end up with something that's out of date, that's been put in. I want to make sure that we continuously keep everything up to date. So for me to bring SRE in, it's like bringing another mindset in, like DevOps, you know, where we had to transition to that. So I'd like to understand what the optimizations are in a business process to make sure we effectively do carry on using it in a continuous manner, you know.
Okay. Yeah, from the business process perspective, this information should be, we should make sure that business is paying attention, that the information is useful for them, so that it leverages them to take decisions. In the moment in which, this is a process of continuous improvement, in the moment in which in our quarterly or monthly or bi-monthly meetings with business, these indicators, these dashboards, they stop to be useful for them, we need to dig in and we need to create other ones. And from the technical perspective, what I'm using is creating my own dashboards. I create my own dashboards of how my SREs are developing. We have created a maturity radar of how the SRE should behave in a given domain. So we measure that and we create a dashboard. So because I cannot control 53, 60, 100 people, but what I can control is alarms. Okay, so that will be my question. That my answer, sorry.
Maybe I may add that automation also is a subject really important. As long as you put automation in your processes, you will be able to follow the evolution of your business processes or of your systems. And you have also to implement a solution that take care about this automation, this evolution, to avoid having some manual actions to handle all the time these business processes. So automation also is a key point to adapt to your evolution.
We have to lunch, to go to lunch, and we have to finish this session. But feel free to discuss with our expert during the lunch and during the day. Thanks a lot for your participation.